Okay, all right, guys. Well, I think we'll begin. Welcome. We have Ayman, Rashid, and Rosie on the webinar. Welcome. We'll give you all a moment to introduce yourself shortly. We're running a number of these mini webinar test sessions to for people to come in and get an insight into a particular topic. So thanks for showing your interest in today's session, building test automation frameworks. We'd be happy for you to introduce yourself if you wanted to. So we'll open up the microphones in a moment. But just to introduce the session, so my name's Steve Meredith. I'm working here at NobleProg. I'm joined today by one of our expert consultants and trainers, Saurabh, who will be walking us through the next 45 minutes or so. Because it's a small audience today, we would encourage some dialogue. Feel free to ask some questions. I'm sure Saurabh will welcome that. But hopefully you'll get a lot out of this next 45 minutes to an hour. We will be recording this session, so by staying on the session, you give your consent for us to use the recording for marketing purposes. I trust that's okay with you all. You are on mute, but feel free to unmute yourself anytime, ask some questions, jump in and let's get some dialogue going. So with that said, if would anybody like to introduce themselves very quickly, given we've got a small audience today? Very quiet. Okay, well, I'll take that as a cautious no for the time being. But let us begin. I'll hand over to Saurabh, and we'll get started. Over to you, Saurabh.
Thanks, Steve. Thank you so much for the introduction. So, hi everybody. Good evening. My name is Saurabh Dhingra, and I welcome you all to this webinar series, Building Test Automation Framework and Best Practices to Follow. I have not mentioned any test automation tool here. That is because of some purpose. I want to cover test automation, building test automation framework in generic without considering any tool, whether you're using Selenium automation tool or whether you're using any other automation tool which are famous in market like Cypress, or you're using say for example Test Complete, Catalan Studio. There are a lot of tools available in market. And it's not only about the UI automation, it's about any type of testing you're doing, whether you're doing the web services testing or whether you're doing the UI testing. All these concepts which I'm going to talk make sense there as well. Okay, you can take those as the best practices to follow. So let me start with my introduction first. My name is Saurabh Dhingra and I have total 10 years of experience working as manual and automation into manual and automation. I also have 3 years of experience working as a DevOps expert. I worked for multiple MNCs and startup as test automation consultant and architect as well. Talking about my teaching career, I have around 6+ years of experience into trainings. The overall teaching experience is way beyond than this. In fact, it is even more than 10 years because I started teaching when I was in my college. But that time I used to teach school students. Then I used to teach college students. And almost after 3 to 4 years working into IT professional, I started teaching IT professionals. Yeah. So as of now, I have taken 120 live batches so far. Have taught more than 3,000 students in live batches. I'm also an author of a website called QA Tech Hub. I have hosted my courses on a couple of e-learning sites, like one of the most famous one is Coursera, where I have more than 5,000 students enrolled so far, and over 14 courses are there on different programming languages as well as test automation. And I also have 2 courses on Udemy, where combined I have 6,500 plus students as of now. Teaching is something which I enjoy every day. So that's kind of my passion, and that you might be seeing in my career as well. All right. So before that, Steve, do you have poll ready?
Sure. Yeah. Let me launch a quick poll. So we just got a couple of questions. We'd love to get your views on a couple of questions that you should see in the Zoom window. A poll that is now available. A couple of questions there. The first one, we'd love to hear what your experience is with test automation. And the second question is, have you ever built automation frameworks from scratch? So please do go ahead and take a moment to complete the poll, if you would. Okay, so it looks like the majority, in fact, everybody so far has no experience with test automation.
Okay.
So it looks like we've got an audience that's keen to learn here, Saurabh.
Okay. Thank you, Steve, for this. Thank you, everybody, for participating. All right. So let's start with what is automation testing frameworks, and what is this framework? What is this buzz all around this framework? If you'll go for any job openings, if you'll just check any job openings in market, the first thing they ask for is, have you built frameworks from scratch? If you'll start writing, or if let's say you're starting a new job, they'll first ask you, have you built this frameworks from scratch? Okay. And it's not only about job openings and starting with the new automation. When you are starting test automation in your projects as well, the first thing you discuss is what what base we want to give, right? So that's what framework is. Testing frameworks are set of guidelines or rules used to create and design test cases. They provide the standardized test language. Now, why we need a standardized test language? Because see, if a lot of people are working together and everyone start writing test cases the way they understand with their limited knowledge, or somebody has 10 years of experience and the other person has 2 years of experience, just imagine if both of them start writing test cases together, there will be a difference in the way one person is writing and the other person is writing, right? And uh, those who are writing without knowledge, without having any framework experience, at the end their code uh, will have a lot of duplicacy, will have a lot of maintenance issue. You'll end up maintaining the or you can say putting up a lot of cost on maintenance. So that's why this standardized test language is required. It helps us in reducing the test cost maintenance. We'll talk about how we can do that. So on and all, a testing framework is comprised of all the tools and practices intended for application development from requirement outline. So this framework starts right from the start of requirement gathering till we do all the activities like manual and automated testing, to environment setup, to run your test, and so and much more. This is what automation testing is. Okay. Then automated testing framework focus especially on optimizing automated process. They facilitate faster cycle through test reusability and through speeding up test creation and maintenance by separating test data from logic. Okay. I will explain you in a minute. Just let me just read it out. There are many types of automated testing frameworks, so it's crucial you adopt the one which is right for you. Utilizing one that is well structured, however, can increase your team's efficiency by improving test accuracy, maximizing test coverage, lowering cost and maintenance, and ultimately giving higher return on investment for your efforts. What does the crux of all this whatever I have written is that when you have started building automation frameworks, you need to take care of few things. First, it should be easy to maintain. Second, it should be reusable. Components should be written in a way that they are all reusable. Third, there should be a standard reporting mechanism, right? So the reports which it is generating should be standard. Then it should have a standard logging mechanism. All these points are mentioned in the next slide. Uh, just a second. Yeah. So, yeah. So I was mentioning that when we are building test automation framework, few things we need to take care of. First thing, it has to be easy to maintain. Second, it should be uh, logically separated. Separated as in your uh, code which you are writing for test automation should be separate than code you have written for your application and your test cases. Okay. So I have for that I have added one diagram which I usually take for all my automation frameworks, and let me just explain you all the things which we have done through it. See, this is the framework, modular framework. Okay, it here uh, I call it modular because everything is divided into modules, right? And the application which I'm testing, say for example, I want to test Amazon e-commerce site. Okay, so first, first of all, I'll divide this whole framework into three sections. Vertically, it is divided into three sections, which is the first section is the input part, and the rightmost section is the output part. In between is the heart of the framework. Okay, internally, also it is divided into three layers. So first layer is the common library, okay, or the automation layer, where all the application, not application, but automation related code will go. Whether you are using Selenium, so all the Selenium related code will go. Whether you're using Catalan, so that will go. If let's say you are doing API testing, then that API related code will go. Okay. Now here, whatever methods you're going to create, those all should be wrapper methods. Okay. You should wrap the functionality provided by your test automation tool. Why wrapping is required? The purpose we wrap the test cases, wrap the methods provided by the automation tool is because if you're directly using their utility, their methods, and going forward, if they change, let's say within your application, you have used some of their methods directly without wrapping them, then and you have used them for let's say 20 times and something changed in those, maybe those get deprecated or maybe the way they are implemented gets changed, right? So in that case you end up maintaining your test a lot because of change in third party tool. So it's always better to wrap them. I would like to give you some examples of wrapping methods. Okay, let me just open up the code. So here I have opened this modular framework. This I've created. Um, so let me just close all of them. Why this? Okay. So let me show you here. See, this is the modular framework which we have created, right? In this, first of all, there are three layers. This is the common labs layer, right? This two section consists of common labs. This is my application layer, and here is my test layer, right? Now, in the application layer, if you'll sorry, in the test layer, which is common labs layer, if you'll see, all the methods which I've written, they all will be wrapped up. Wrapped up as in the functionality which is provided by Selenium or any automation tool. I've wrapped them in some different methods. Like there is one method called set page.timeout. Okay. Then we have method of navigating to the URL. We have method like get title. See, get title is a method which is directly provided by Selenium. I could have used that directly, but I'm wrapping them up because if something change in this method, okay, I will be able to uh, I mean it will be easy for me to maintain in this way because I just have to come to this get title method and change it. Okay, similarly some more examples. I've wrapped up all the functionalities or all the actions which are provided by uh, Selenium, like get text, click element, get attribute, get CSS value. All these methods are also wrapped. Now, I'll give you one example which has saved almost 2 days of my effort because we were using these wrapper methods. So I was working with one of the application where uh, they had a section like this, like it was a web application, and they had a very similar section what you see for Eclipse. In the middle part, there was a form which I had to fill. Okay, and we were using these get methods to fill up the form. Okay, now in one of the section, there were some of the text field which were hidden in under this. Okay, and we were not able to write in those text box with normal text method, normal set text method. So now, and we were not sure which of these elements will come inside this, under this, and which all are available normally, right? So this also happened. I mean, we reached this stage almost after completing 20 to 25 test cases, right? So what we uh, found that for writing into those text boxes, we have to first bring those text boxes onto the view. Okay, the if the elements are hidden inside under some other table, Selenium will not be able to write into them. Okay, so the one of the way was, like, if we are not using this wrapper methods, if we are directly calling the methods, the way was, first we have to call move to element method, right, which will bring those elements into the view, and then only we can write. But since we were using these wrapper method, I don't had to change everywhere. Rather, I just mentioned within this method that uh, added another functionality that bring the element into the view, that is move to that element, and then call this click or get text and so on. Okay, this way, uh, whatever element was there, first it will bring it to the view and then write into it. So this is one example which I'm sharing where we saved a lot of time because we were using these wrapper methods. Okay, and another example we can take is I have another utility in my project which is Excel driver. Excel driver is a utility which is used for uh, reading from Excel sheets. Let me quickly open it. Yeah. So this is a utility which is used for reading from Excel sheet, reading and writing from Excel sheet. So recently this Excel driver has deprecated a lot of methods. Okay. And again, if we would have been using this Excel driver directly without wrapping their methods, then we would have to change at multiple places because this utility is used a lot at lot many places. But since we have wrapped up their methods, so this was actually the method which had changed. Okay, it is earlier it was cell dot get cell type enum, and now it is different. Now it is something different. If I check now, yeah, now it is cell dot get cell type, right? So like this, there were a lot of many methods which were deprecated. So this utility which I'm showing you, this is with the current version of uh, POI Apache utility, and this one is with the older version. Like this, there were many utility where the method, sorry, there are many methods which are getting deprecated, and this happens a lot when you're using third-party tools. Okay, so one of the point which I want to mention is that whenever you are using any third-party application, wrap their method, be it Selenium, be it any utility or library file like wrap their methods. Okay, and keep automation layer separate than the application layer. Now you might ask why it is required. So the purpose why automation layer, keeping automation layer separate than the application layer helps you is, going forward, let's say Selenium gets deprecated, or Selenium let's say some other tool come into market which is better than Selenium, or Selenium launches its one version which is even better than what we are using right now, like it had happened when we migrated from Selenium 2 to Selenium 3. Okay. Now, the way we implement frameworks here, you can see that all my so here, if I show you, this is my automation layer. So here, first of all, I've created some contracts, and then we are implementing those contracts, right? So the way we interact with an alert, or let's say a text box, is not going to change, right? But the implementation of that depends on what test automation tool you're using. So what generally we do in this case is, first we have created the interfaces, then we have created their implementation, and all those implementation uh, is Selenium implementation. Say for example, going forward, instead of Selenium, some other tool comes into picture, you just have to change these methods. These interface will remain as it is. They will make sure that all your implementation is with the new tool is done. Okay, and then rest of all your code will remain as it is. So it's like, if you are keeping your automation layer separate than application layer, then it's like plug in and plug out. Okay, if some other tool has come in market, just plug out the utility, plug out the uh, this automation layer, that is Selenium code, and insert some other. Rest all your code will remain as it is. Okay, this has actually happened when we were migrating from Selenium 2 to Selenium 3. Okay, so in Selenium 2, there were a lot of methods which get deprecated when we migrated to Selenium 3. So that's where this helped us a lot. Any questions so far? Anyone? Okay, then if you look, then this is our automation layer. Then we have application layer in place. This is the place where we write all the logic. Okay, now here we have to be very careful. Okay, uh, you have to use some standard design pattern here. If I talk about Selenium or any automation tool, one of the design pattern which is very famous in market is page object model. Okay, this page object model is nothing new. It's an old concept. It's been used by developers uh, from a long time. Now, how it works is, whatever application the test you have, for every page in your application the test, you must have one class. Okay, whether you're using Selenium, or whether you're using API testing, or whether you're doing anything, the concept will remain same, right? What you need to have is, whatever application test you have, for every page, create one class, whether it's Java or C Sharp, just create one class. And in that, the first thing you need to do is create an object repository. What is object repository? Object repository is the elements with which you're going to interact with. Okay, like let's say you want to interact with you have a form on a page, and you want to interact with all the elements. So define all the elements. Okay, then initialize them. So this is object repository. Now, when it will become page object model, when you will also add the functionality to it. Okay, now let's consider an example of login page. What all things you can do on a login page? You can do login, you can do forget password, you can do closing, you can do sign up. All these are the function or method which you can perform, right? So create one class file per page, and in each class file define all the elements with which you can interact with and all the functionalities which are possible. Then whatever utilities are there, that we are going to create everywhere. Okay, now the benefit of this is two things. First, it helps you in maintaining your code better. Okay, when I say maintaining the code, how it helps us is, see, if you are writing your code randomly without segregating them with the pages, okay, If something changed in a particular page, let's say recently Facebook has relaunched its login page. Similarly, any page can change, right? And especially when you are developing an application, so UI changes a lot. So if something has changed somewhere, let's say on login page something got changed, then searching for that element in your application becomes difficult if you have not segregated the code. Now, in this approach, the one which I'm mentioning, if let's say some on login page something has changed, then I know where exactly to go. If something has changed on home page, I know where exactly to go. Okay. And since we have defined that element once, I know I have to change only at one place. That's the benefit we get using these design patterns called page object model. Now, especially Selenium provides us one advanced way, that is enhanced page model it provides us, which is page factory. Okay, you can use that, but it's not there in other tools. I mean, page factory is a specific content concept to Selenium, but if you're using Catalan, it internally takes care of what page factory gives us. Same is the case with test complete, that also internally takes care of it, right? So yeah, that's the logic layer. And another benefit this logic layer gives us is that your logic is separated out. Okay, now just take an example of, let's say you want to fill a form with different set of test data. Okay, you want to try all the combination: valid email id, invalid email id, valid name, invalid name, adding only numbers to the name, adding blank value to the name, and so on. Okay, I have a form and I want to fill that and want to test each and every combination. Okay, so if you have written your logic separately, okay, then using another layer, that is the test layer, you can reuse this logic multiple times. Okay, uh, you don't have to write the logic again and again, just write once and then pass that test data. Let's say if 100 test data is there, then also it will become very easy for you to pass that 100 set of test data through this test layer. So another benefit you get when you have your logic layer separate. Next, if let's say going forward, you started working for some other application or some micro-based architecture you're following, so some other application came into picture. Then also you will have benefit in this framework that you only have to change this layer and start adding test cases over it. The rest of all your utilities will work as it is. Okay. So these are some of the benefits we get when we keep our automation layer, logic layer, and test layer separate. Now I can show you it how it looks in the code. So this is one framework I have here. This is my common libs is my automation layer, where I have first the contracts. Okay, all the possible elements which we can interact with on a web application are mentioned here as interfaces. Then all their implementation are here, right? And we have some utilities like reading from config file, then interacting with Excel sheet and so on. Okay, then so this is all automation layer. Then we have application layer. So this is my application layer. Here you can see for every page in the application, we have a separate class. Okay, so for example, I have home page. So if I go to home page, I am first defined all the web elements with which I can interact. Then I'm initializing them. And after that, I've written the logic, logic to logic to perform operations. Okay. And this is another logic I've written. Then if you'll go to the test layer, so test layer will go in src test Java. If you'll go to src test Java, here I think this project is an old project, so it I mean the version might have changed. That's the reason it is giving us error. But fine, I can still explain you the concept. So here you can see that in this, uh, let's say I have my home page test. So this is my test case where I want to verify Mercury travel with correct credential, right? This is my test case. And in this, I'm calling the logic of uh, performing login here, right? So this is my test case. Now let's say if I want to test this particular functionality with multiple test data. With that example, I also have here in the data-driven framework. If I go to my login page test, okay, so here I can show you the example. See, this is my test case in which I want to again verify the login with some username and password. Okay, now here I'm not hard coded the value, right? Now from where we are getting from an Excel sheet. If I'll show you the Excel sheet, it will be in test data. Yeah, this is my Excel sheet. If I open it, so by the time it opens, so the logic is written once in its layer, which is the application layer, and we are reusing it in our test layer. Okay, and passing multiple set of test data. So the benefit of keeping your logic and test separate is then that you can reuse your logic for running it with multiple test of data. So here you can see I have 3 set of username and password. Similarly, you can have as many set of username and password, right? You can just test it with 29 or 30. All you have to do is change here. Okay. Now example I was giving that you want to verify filling up a form with all sort of test data, having valid values, having invalid values, having empty values. What you need to do is just go to your Excel sheet and change the test data, and you will be able to test it directly, right? So that's the benefit we get when we are uh, keeping our application and logic layer separate. I mean application layer and test layer separate. Okay. That's what I follow in all the test automation, whether it's UI, whether it's API, always keep the layers separated. Then some of the feature which every framework must have is it must generate a report. Okay, that the report format all depends on your organization. What format, what makes best, uh, what is best for your organization. Okay. Now, for reporting, there are some third-party tools available in market. If you're using tools like Catalan Studio, Test Complete, they provide their own reporting mechanism. If you're using open source tools like Selenium, then there are a lot of open source reporting tools are available. If no reporting tool works for you, create your own utility and generate a HTML report out of it. Yeah. So, but it should generate a report which is same across your organization, right? Then there should be some way of generating logs. Very important. If your application, if your automation is not generating logs, then it will become very difficult to debug when you are not available at the time of execution. This logging helps you a lot when you have to debug your code and you're not present at the time of execution, because most of the time the execution will happen unattendedly. You'll not be there to see the execution, and that's what automation is meant for. Then one of the utility which every framework should have is this the capability to generate screenshots. Okay. Now these tools like Catalan, Test Complete, they have a beautiful way of generating screenshot of every step. Now one more tool which is getting famous these days, Cypress. If you look at that, it generates screenshot of each and every step. Whether let's say if you're filling up a form and it has 5 fields, so it will show you um, filling before and after every 5 fields, right? So generating screenshot is very important. Now here in the framework which I cover, I have I'm generating screenshots only for the field scenarios, right? So I can show you the logic. So what we generally do in this case is, let's say I'll go to my SRC test. I think here it is not there, but in this it should be there. Okay, so what we do is there is something known as at after method. Okay, in that you can pass this test result. This test result consists of the result, okay, of the test case which has executed just before it. And in that, we have written the logic that if your test case is failing, then capture the screenshot and attach it to the report. This is the logic written. Right? Save and capture the screenshot and attach it to the report. Right? So that's how reporting should be there. Right? Then every framework must have data-driven capabilities. When I say data-driven capabilities means that you should be able to test your test case with multiple set of test data. Okay, that set of test data can be in your Excel sheet, can be in your database, but your utility should both these utilities should return test data in same format. Okay, that's what data-driven testing is. And then one of the important feature of a framework is that we should be able to run it through CI/CD. Okay, that is, we should be able to run it through tools like Jenkins, Azure DevOps. The benefit is we will be able to integrate them into CI/CD, that is continuous integration and continuous delivery deployment tools, right? And you will be able to schedule them unattendedly. When you are not there at the time of execution, you can do that through Jenkins. Okay, so this is an overall framework we cover. Now it remains same whether you are building it for Selenium with Java, whether you're doing it for Selenium with C#. Only the way we implement them will differ. So another example I can give you is, this is one framework which was created for C#. Okay, it's also exactly same. Here we have, since it's a C#, instead of project, here you'll have solution, right? This is the solution. Then in that I've created 3 projects. So this is my automation layer, which is with name Common Labs. Then I have my application layer, which is Guru 99 application. And then I have my test layer, which is Guru 99 test. Now in in the automation layer, again, I have some implementations added and some utilities added. So what all utilities I've added here? First, let's see the implementation. So all the common driver related things goes here. All common element things goes here. Drop down control and so on. Similarly, for utils, I have utilities like reading from database. Right? Reading from database. Then some date utility, which is required all over the project. Reading from Excel sheet. Generating reports. Taking screenshot and wait utilities if required. So these are some of the utilities added here. So this is my automation layer. If let's say going forward, something changed. Let's say something changed in the way Selenium is implemented. I only need to change here. If something changed in Excel, I need to change only here. Then we have application layer. In application layer, I have added again, the pages are added. So if let's say you want to work with Guru 99 login page, so this is the format I'm using. Now in Selenium C#, page factory is an absolute. Here we take care of lambda expressions. Okay, or lambda expression, and using that we are defining the elements. Now whatever purpose page object model, this page factory serves, it's same what lambda expression do. Okay, that's why in Selenium C#, they have deprecated page factory. But the concept remains same. First define all the elements, then initialize them, and then call the utility to, write the logic, right? So the logic is written here. Then comes the test layer. Again in test layer, first here is my test case. Okay, if I want to pass from an Excel sheet, here using this you can pass. So this test case is being tested with multiple set of username and password, and that data is kept in some Excel sheet. Okay, who is providing test data to it? For that I have written this utility called test data from Excel. So this method get data from Excel is returning inumerables. Similarly, if I have a utility which is reading from a database and returning value, here also the utility is innumerable. So whether I want to read from Excel or whether I want to read from database, the utility, the logic is different, but they both are returning the values as same. So for me, using here, it's just a matter of changing the parameter, whether I want to read from Excel or whether I want to read from database. That's the only thing which is different, right? So this is another example of creating frameworks, and similar framework we have created. Right now, any question before I proceed here? Okay, if there is no question, we can proceed. So some of the best practices to follow, that's what I want to cover here. So when I say best practices to follow, whenever you're starting with automation, always start with smoke test. First, complete the smoke test. Then complete the regression test, and then come to a stage where you also start automating your regular day-to-day tasks or tests. Always start with smoke test. Okay, then run scripts automatically. Okay, your script should execute automatically without you being there, without your intervention. Okay, you can schedule them, you can run through some CD tool like Jenkins. In fact, when it has to execute through Jenkins, then also there should not be any manual trigger. It should either run at a particular time or because of some event. Maybe somebody from the development team has checked in the code, and because of that, it has triggered your automation, right? Then place scripts in shared location and allow other users to execute script. What does it means? That your code should be, your script should be kept in some shared location. It should not be that they are kept on your machine and from there your machine you are executing. No, they should be at one common place, maybe some common VM from where it is triggering. Okay, and make script stable. Now, before you rely on automation, you have to be sure that your automation is reliable. How will you do that? Run them for multiple times. Okay, before making sure that your tests are 100% stable, run them multiple times on multiple environments. Okay, run them on one machine, run them on second machine, and make sure that they are not machine dependent. They are not independent. They are not environment dependent. Okay, uh, you might have to run them on Windows machine, then you might have to run them on Linux machine. So don't have any environment specific configuration. Implement scripts with CI/CD that we have discussed. Then best practice, other best practices is ref method with third-party tools before using them. We have discussed about it in detail. Then keep automation logic and test separate. This also we have discussed in detail. Then create more and more utilities. Anything you want to do separately, just create a utility out of it. Standardized test case format. So everyone must have a standard test case format and follow that in all your test cases, right? We discussed about this already. Add validation. Just remember, a test case without validation is a bogus test case. Okay, because if in a test case there is no validation, that test case will never fail. So what's the use of writing test case? Have standard reporting and logging structure. We discussed this. Add screenshot and log of failing scenarios. Standardize test data format. This also we discussed, that whether you're using, whether you're reading from Excel sheet or whether you're reading from database, it should return a same format of test data. I think I've shooted over time. I'll take just 5 more minutes and we'll wrap it up. These are some points which I want to focus more and more, especially for UI. Don't automate captchas. and OTPs. They are not meant to be automated. Remember this point. Okay, I've seen a lot of people asking me how you automate captchas. See, captchas are made not to be automated. They are made so that people should not should not use automation on their website, right? Now there are a lot of government websites. Like why this captcha and OTPs came into picture was that there were a lot of government tenders which used to come, and when people started learning Selenium to fill in their tenders, they used to automate the process of logging in and filling up the form. Okay, and people without this knowledge of automation were not able to get the benefit of it, right? So that's when these captchas and OTPs came into picture, and they added the security thing also. Don't spend effort in automating third-party tools. If your application is interacting with something which is not yours, don't automate that. Maybe use some simulators. Maybe use the API response from those third-party tools. Don't automate websites like Gmail, Facebook, Google. Don't automate them. If you really want to interact with them, use their APIs. Both these tools have provided APIs which works on authentication. Use them. Avoid GUI automation if possible. GUI automation means the look and feel of the of your application. Avoid them because there is no tool available in market which gives you 100% result. Okay. One tool which I've seen successful in GUI automation is only Test Complete. Right. Then consider automation as a replacement for automation test. Don't consider automation as a replacement for it should be manual testing. So don't think automation will 100% replace your manual testing. No, that is not possible. And also 100% automation is a myth. That's not possible at all. You will always need manual testing, no matter where you will reach. Then don't automate unstable functionalities, because if your application, if your functionality is unstable and you're automating it, you don't know why it will break. Okay, and then you might think, okay, my automation is not correct. So automate when it is stable. Okay, and a few more things like avoid creating platform dependent tests, avoid dependency on strict version of libraries. I gave you example, right? Like I've used this Excel library, and the older version had deprecated some of the methods, so we don't directly depend on them. Always use refer methods. Synchronize test well with the application to test. So a lot of time I have seen the the testing tool we are using, they're very fast compared to your application to test. So we need some kind of synchronizing mechanism. And what people do a lot of time is start using thread.sleep. Avoid that. Once in a while you can use, but better to use the weighting mechanisms given by that tool itself. Like every tool has weighting mechanisms. If you talk about Selenium, if you talk about Catalan Studio, if you talk about Test Complete, if you talk about Cypress, they all have some weighting mechanisms. So use that. Don't ever hardcode values and configuration. Never ever hardcode. Always keep them in some configuration, maybe in database, maybe in some config file, properties file. A lot of ways are there. So do that. Internet Explorer is outdated now. Okay, don't automate unless until it's a old banking legacy project where only IE works. And standardize your code review process. Okay, if you have multiple people working in your team, have a proper coding review process in place so that whatever you're writing, somebody else should at least review it. That will help you grow, and the person who is reviewing will grow, help him grow, right? So yeah, these are some of the best practices which you can follow while doing the automation, test automation using UI, API, or it does not matter. Like, just a second. Yeah, if you following a structure like this, again, it's not something which I'm saying that this should only be the structure. If you can make it better, use it, right? But if you're following a structure like this, then no matter what tool you're using, what technology you're testing, it will take care of all. Right. So yeah, that's what I wanted to cover. Any questions now? Anyone has any questions? Feel free to ask.
Yeah, thanks, Saurabh. That was very thorough. You covered a lot of content there, and great to see some practical examples and some really useful hints and tips at the end. We had a few more people join us during the session, so welcome to those that did join. And yeah, feel free if you've got any questions, or you want to raise anything, ask of Saurabh. We've got a few more minutes. Please do unmute yourselves and fire away any questions.
So if you want these coding GitHub libraries, so I can share with you all. Just go to github.com and search for Saurabh D2106. This is my GitHub ID. And on this, there are a lot of repositories which are added, almost 61. So you have to do little effort to search them. But yeah, data-driven C# project is there, data-driven framework is there, modular framework is there. You can download these repositories and try it out. In case you will have any question, feel free to ask. All these are open to use, free to use. I mean, they are all on public repositories.
Yeah, thanks, Saurabh. Did everybody find that interesting? Was that useful? Was there anything else that you'd like to hear about, either now or as perhaps a follow-up session? We'd love to hear from you if there was any feedback.
Well, hi.
Hi, Rosie. Nice to hear from you
Yeah.
again.
It was helpful, definitely. It explains the method and give us the tips and tricks on the development, but it is technical. I thought from reading the tips of the presentation, there could be, it's for manual and automated. So yeah, it is more into automated testing and how to proceed with and how to develop them in a proper way, in a segregated way, isolated way, independent of the application. This is the point to avoid dependency. It's good to know for sure, but since I was seeking for something in a way, okay, how can we help manual or manual testers to improve their skills and be able to help in some place in automation without being that detailed, without being a technical person, where they are in need of developing under C# or Java or this is the point. So
okay.
thank you for his time. For sure, it was really good. Yeah, but I was actually looking in this direction as well. So yeah.
Yeah, Rosie, so I can give you some tips here, especially how manual QAs can take benefit of this. See, if somebody is there who can build up this framework for the manual QAs, then what all they need to do is they need to just work with this last library, I mean, this test layer. Okay. And all the
Yeah,
logic
but
will
sorry, yeah, but write these down. They are some. They really should be specific. So if someone is not at all a developer, if he misses the comma, let's say beside the username, this will not be built up. It's so,
uh,
in that way, I mean. So I thought there is a transition way between the two, the manual and the automation that can help us better and have them as reusable, because the idea of having reusable cases is the most important part if you that you had mentioned at the beginning.
yeah.
And this is mostly needed in regression testing, and most of the applications require regression testing. So
Yeah. So that can be another topic to discuss. There is something known as codeless testing, codeless automation. A lot of tools like Test Complete, Catalan Studio that provides codeless testing where no coding experience is required. Maybe I can take that as one of the topic, and you can join that for learning this. how to do
Yeah,
codeless
this would be
testing.
a good one. Yeah, if you can help us in this idea and sharing with us tools and how to work them out without requiring a lot of development and making the test cases reusable, this would be great.
Sure, sure, sure. That is something which I can take up. In fact, I have built one framework where for Selenium also, you don't need any coding experience. It was all Excel sheet where you just need to select some data and we were able to run. Yeah, so this concept is known as codeless automation. Maybe I can take that as one of our topic for this webinar series.
Yes, if you can, it would be great. Thank you.
Yeah, I'll plan that with Steve and Sabah.
We'll follow up with you directly on that. Thank you for raising the questions there, Rosie. We're just coming up to the top of the hour. Are there any other questions that anybody else would like to raise at this stage? Okay, well, we are nearing the top of the hour, so thank you all very much for showing an interest in attending today's session. We hope that you'll gain some value from it. We will follow up with a short questionnaire. If you could take a moment to let us know what your thoughts were, and if there's anything else that we can do to assist, or there's other elements like Rosie has shared that she'd like to explore, we'd be happy to discuss those with you offline. So thank you once again. Thank you, Saurabh. Very good. Enjoyed that session. Thank you very much, and have a good day, everybody.
Bye bye.
Thanks, everybody. Bye bye.